Well, welcome everyone. It's good to see some of you back again today. Today's webinar is a celebration of National Distance Learning Week, and we're glad you could join us. I'm Erin Maney. I'm the Manager of Communications and Community Engagement at SUNY Online, and it's my pleasure to welcome you and introduce our speakers today. So joining us, we have Dr. Brenda Kirkwood and Sara LaFountain-Bagrow from the State University of New York at Albany. Dr. Brenda Kirkwood has experience in higher education, spanning public and private institutions on the associate, baccalaureate, and graduate levels, including development and teaching of undergrad and graduate public health courses, development and management of public health academic programs, student mentorship, and contributing to national educational initiatives. She currently serves as the Director of Online Education at the University at Albany School of Public Health, where she's also a clinical associate professor in the Department of Health Policy, Management, and Behavior. Sara LaFountain-Bagrow is the online program specialist at the University of Albany School of Public Health. Sara assists and supports new and continuing students from start to finish with completing their program requirements. She works closely and collaborates with faculty advisors on issues such as course sequencing, academic or grade grievances, and advisement. He also manages the admissions and enrollment processes for all fully online students. Having been both a traditional student and an online student, Sara has a broad perspective and a strong understanding of the online learning experience. So welcome to all, and I'll turn it over to our speakers.
Great. Well, thank you so very much, Erin, and for those of you who are able to attend today. So the University of Albany School of Public Health, we've been offering online courses since the late 1990s. So we do now offer 4 fully online, all graduate level programs. So we offer a master's degree in public health and 3 graduate certificate programs. These programs tend to cater toward non-traditional students, many of whom are adult learners. So today's presentation will highlight some of our lessons learned, offering insight into the unique needs of our non-traditional and adult learners and strategies that colleges and universities can undertake to support this, what we feel is a very important and a growing student population. So Sara and I are going to go back and forth throughout the presentation, and we're going to start with Sara, starting us off with some background on adult learners.
Thanks, Brenda. So first off, the National Center for Education Statistics defines non-traditional learners as meeting one of 7 characteristics: older than typical age, part-time attendance, being a single parent, and being, working full-time while enrolled, being a single parent, and being a recipient of a GED or high school completion certificate. Within this non-traditional student population are, of course, a large number of adult students. Adult students are not a homogeneous bunch, and we certainly see this within our fully online graduate programs at the School of Public Health, with a large range of ages, education, and job experience. But there are some common characteristics that we do see. Adult students are busy, and the most precious commodity for this group is time. Balancing work, school, and family life is exhausting. It has been aptly described as a stamina marathon. As adults, they also bring more life experience to the classroom, and that often includes professional job-related experience, which can be a boon for class discussions. Adding to this rich mix of perspectives are the varied backgrounds that the field of public health attracts. In our own programs, we welcome students from many fields, including medicine, education, business, law, communication, nursing, allied health, and certainly much more. Lastly, we are seeing a shift to an older, more experienced student body who isn't necessarily pursuing an MPH for the credential or to help them land their first job, but rather their motivations may include career advancement within their current employment or to assist them in performing their current job better with a better understanding of population health, honing their knowledge and skills. Approximately 42% of our online MPH students possess a previous graduate degree. Some are seeking a career change, and some may just be interested in learning more about the field or a particular content area within the field. Thanks for your patience. I'm doing both areas here, advancing the slides as well. So enrollment of adult students is increasing, and it actually already constitutes a sizable chunk of the total college student population. Of note is the 35 and older population, which is expected to increase almost as fast as the traditional student population. Specifically within our fully online MPH, the School of Public Health here offers a Master of Public Health degree in both an online format as well as an on-campus format. But the populations served are quite different. The online MPH students have an average of 7 more years work experience post-bachelor's degree compared to students enrolled in the on-campus MPH program. On average, at our institution, online MPH students are 9 years older than our on-campus MPH students, with a wider age range. In 2020, almost half of matriculated online MPH students were between the ages of 30 and 59. By comparison, nearly 90% of on-campus MPH students fell between the ages of 20 to 29. And at least 90% of online students are working at time of application and maintain employment throughout the program. Whereas students enrolled in the on-campus MPH program tend to pursue the MPH on a full-time basis, and although several hold part-time positions, few are employed full-time.
Great. So thank you for that overview of adult learners and specifically here at the School of Public Health. So in keeping in mind of this student demographic, higher education needs to adapt. So although higher ed isn't necessarily well known for being nimble, in order to best serve students, we do need to adapt our traditional way of doing things as our student body is changing, extending, as Sara mentioned, far beyond the traditional student who steps directly into college from high school, or the student who moves directly from their bachelor's degree to graduate school, as we do see more non-traditional students matriculating in programs. So I myself am currently advising students ranging in age from 21 to 74 years old. This is incredibly exciting and fulfilling for me, yet it does highlight the different needs among students as they are at varied stages of their careers. Certainly a one-size-fits-all approach is not valuable. As Sara had noted earlier, these adult learners are balancing a lot, and we're seeing that also among our younger student population as well. I am constantly in awe of how much students take on and balance. But there are some actions that colleges and universities can and should take to make it more attractive and more feasible for students to pursue their studies and to be successful in doing so. So flexibility is absolutely key. As students juggle multiple personal and professional responsibilities, they may be able to enroll in just 1 or 2 courses at a time. Many existing academic programs and student services were really developed with a full-time student in mind. So when mapping out course sequencing and scheduling, please consider the part-time student. For example, if they miss their chance to enroll in a prerequisite, you really don't want them to have to wait an entire year or more to resume their coursework. Having stackable programs is also quite beneficial, and for a number of reasons. If a student has been out of school for a while and they're uncertain whether they really want to go back, they may be more inclined to start with just 1 course or a set of courses, such as with a certificate, and then it makes attainment of a full degree from that point on more within their reach. There's also another logistical reason for having programs that can stack. When a student is pursuing a program on a part-time basis, it can take quite some time for them to complete the program. So by offering them a certificate or a badge or some sort of recognition of successful completion of coursework along the way, it benefits the student since they can add that to their resume and demonstrate to an employer, for instance, that they have attained mastery of content in the interim while they continue on their academic journey, rather than having to wait until they complete the entire degree. We have found this to be a desirable feature of our Certificate in Public Health Fundamentals and Principles program, which is comprised of foundational public health coursework. The certificate curriculum is essentially, although not entirely, the core MPH course requirements. So all 18 credits of that certificate are seamlessly applied to the MPH for those students who do wish to continue on to the MPH after completion of the certificate. So it's great because students can tout that certificate completion as they continue to plug away at their MPH coursework. Another way higher ed can incorporate flexibility is to allow students to begin the program at various points throughout the year. So rather than focusing on a fall semester start, provide more opportunities to begin the program. We here at the School of Public Health, we admit students into our online programs in fall, spring, and summer. We find that once a student kind of makes up their mind that they want to pursue the program, they're often ready to do that right there and then. So we don't want to lose that desire, but instead seize it at that time. And we all know that life happens. So it's very, very common for our working professionals to need to take some time off from their coursework so that they can tend to various other obligations. So we as colleges and universities should make this as easy as possible for students to stop and then restart coursework. And we can do that through university and college policies and processes, as well as through curricular design. For instance, at the University at Albany, and I'm not sure if all SUNY institutions are like this, but I know at UAlbany, master's students are not required to maintain continuous enrollment so that they can, in fact, take a semester off here and there without needing to request any sort of formal leave. And by offering our required courses on a very regular basis, students can just pick up where they left off without needing to wait to dive back in to their studies when their schedules do lighten up a bit for them to resume their coursework. And this past year and a half has certainly showed us what we are capable of when we use innovation and technology. And as you know, this particular audience today is fully aware, as we are celebrating National Distance Learning Week, online courses, distance learning, have been and will continue to be desirable among the adult learner population. I mean, in my opinion, you just can't beat the flexibility provided by online education, and it's often the only option for adult learners. Also be thinking how students are accessing their course content. Students, I've heard, are already completing entire degrees through their mobile phones and other similar devices. I envision that will grow, as technology evolves. So keeping up with technology is going to be very important for higher education institutions. Now, our next couple of bullet points extend really beyond the curriculum, which was our primary focus of today's session, but these are still really critical considerations for student success in terms of student services. During the pandemic, most student services shifted from on-campus to virtual, everything from student financial services to the writing center to career services, counseling services. So building on that type of experience can certainly be beneficial to students by continuing to provide those services in a virtual format. And just to note, I know resources are stretched so thin, so that benefit isn't limited to students enrolled in exclusively online programs, as students taking courses on campus can also benefit greatly from virtual student services. I know here at UAlbany, we have 3 separate campuses that are several miles apart from one another. So the bulk of the university-wide offices, such as financial aid, disability services, et cetera, those are located on what we call the Uptown campus, and that's about 10 miles away from us here on the Health Sciences campus where the School of Public Health is located. So offering services that students need to access in a virtual manner eases logistics for any student with geographic or scheduling constraints. We also added here a suggestion to broaden professional development services, because career service needs for a student who transitioned straight into college from high school they're going to be quite different compared to someone who has been working for 30 or more years already. So those types of services, professional development, career services options, they should evolve along with evolution of the student body composition. Also, faculty who are accustomed to teaching the traditional student may require some extra guidance or training on ways to incorporate flexible accommodations for students while still maintaining fairness and high expectations of students. So this might be something like building in a short grace period for assignment deadlines or paying particular attention to assignment deadlines, because I know in the online courses that I teach, again, typically it's working professionals that are taking these courses. Students tend to complete the bulk of their work on the weekends. So having an assignment deadline maybe by close of business on a Friday, that just may not be conducive to a working professional schedule, as just one example. Another common comment I hear from students is that they find it very difficult to post on, say, a Tuesday, and then they're required to comment on a student's response to that post by, say, Thursday of that same week. That turnaround time is just too short for those who are juggling full-time work schedules, maybe childcare issues or other obligations. So just making some minor tweaks to assignment deadlines can make a big difference in student satisfaction and their success. Also, the type and extent of feedback required for adult learners may differ. So many adult learners, they've been out of school for a while. They may lack confidence in their abilities. So feedback provided during a project or during assignments as they're working on them that allows students to incorporate some suggestions, and most importantly, to learn. So some also may not be quite as savvy with some of the technology compared to maybe a traditional student who just grew up surrounded by technology and tech devices. So being aware of those types of situations can also assist in the overall educational experience, and it truly is worthy of our attention moving forward. Also, students have a lot to offer, in particular when the student body is comprised of individuals with varied and extensive work and life experience that I know we see. The line is often blurred between teacher and learner. It becomes more of a partnership than a formal student-teacher role. Acknowledging that breadth and depth of student expertise can really go a long way in establishing rapport and productive connections that can last well beyond graduation. In fact, adult students expect to be able to use their experiences as these form the foundation of their learning. Connections form best when students can bridge their prior knowledge and experiences with new learning. So at the School of Public Health, we encourage engaging discussion from students who are often working as, we have a lot of healthcare professionals like physicians, others, researchers, public health directors, health communication specialists, nurses, et cetera. Their differing perspectives broaden the students' viewpoints, helps them challenge the current beliefs, and it illuminates topics that go well beyond the textbook, having that practical experience. And public health as a field is very practical. It's very hands-on. So when you have students already working, already practicing in the field, that provides rich opportunities for them to immediately apply course concepts and vice versa for their experience to inform course content and activities. Eager for relevant coursework, adult students are less interested in that abstract learning that they cannot connect to their life and or goals. So relevant coursework keeps the students engaged, motivated, and inspires that lively discussion that we all seek. At the School of Public Health, we offer a variety of coursework with that in mind, ranging from producing a complete evaluation protocol for a health-related program, for instance, devising and crafting health policy memos, developing a proposal for a health promotion intervention. So we envision the future will hold more of a merging between academic coursework and professional practical work. We're always encouraging students to network, but being enrolled in academic programs comprised of such a diverse, experienced group is a phenomenal networking opportunity like no other for these students to learn and share from one another. I was thrilled, certainly, when we recently had one working professional student who actually was part of her internship requirement for her MPH degree. They were organizing a panel discussion on a timely public health topic. So that student reached out to two of her fellow MPH classmates, both of which were healthcare professionals working in the field. They possessed the experience and the knowledge that aligned perfectly with the objectives of that panel presentation. Both of those classmates agreed to participate in that panel discussion. So that was just a great example of leveraging and acknowledging the expertise of our students. So we're trying to encourage our students to do more of that kind of networking among themselves, as well as with their instructors. So the line between teacher and learner isn't as defined when the learners themselves bring extensive knowledge and experience. And instructors need to be open and receptive to learning from their students and viewing them as partners in the educational process and journey. Inviting students to serve as guest speakers and on school-wide panels, other activities that go on, that also assists in validating that wealth of knowledge and experience that the students bring to the learning experience. So now Sara is going to relay some thoughts on some future directions that we're now exploring.
Thanks, Brenda. So we are always looking, as Brenda mentioned, for ways to further support our adult students. And we look forward to incorporating additional opportunities to understand and hold room for student transitions. As we spoke about earlier, students enroll for varied reasons. However, generally, they are experiencing some type of transition, whether it be divorce, a need to increase income, retirement. And at the same time, they are nervous about returning to formal education, as their last experience could have been 15 or even 20 years ago when the classroom looked much different. And this is a comment we do hear with our students. We find providing simple and straightforward course layouts are helpful, as well as setting a safe and welcoming learning environment. We also encourage supporting self-direction. So self-directed learners assume more responsibility for their learning. They take initiative to seek out resources, generate questions, set goals, reflect and assess. They know their engagement is critical for substantive learning to take place. This is the opposite of teacher-directed learning, in which the instructor is seen as the expert and sole source of knowledge. Rather than the student being dependent on the teacher, they function as co-learners in pursuit of furthering knowledge. In other words, instructors provide the resources to help guide students down the path of learning. Self-directed learners do derive a multitude of benefits, among them increased motivation, perseverance, and satisfaction. Reflective practice is integral to the self-directed learner. When we reflect, we are developing critical thinking skills, identifying areas of strength and improvement. Reflection can also help us make sense of challenging and complicated situations. Consider a famous quote by educational reformer John Dewey. We don't learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. This is a critical skill for all students, including, of course, public health practitioners. And we look forward to incorporating increased opportunities for students to direct their own learning in both small and large ways. These could include regular use of a reflection journal or reflection assignments, choice in how to present a final project, or perhaps encouraging students to propose topics or projects within course goals that align with their unique interests. And last, but certainly not least, we continually strive to increase students' sense of community. Sense of community is a sense of belonging or connectedness and commonality of learning expectations and goals. For adult students and other populations, sense of community can lead to improved learning outcomes, increased retention, and an overall boost in student satisfaction. Collaboration helps foster a sense of community, as it is through collaboration with peers and instructors students make meaning of learning, and it also provides a supportive learning environment. At the School of Public Health, we encourage a variety of collaborative classwork with an emphasis on high-quality collaborative discussions and a variety of group work opportunities. This mirrors expectations in the extremely collaborative field of public health, in which practitioners work on diverse interdisciplinary teams to address complex societal issues impacting the health of populations. Now, at this time, we'd like to open it up for discussion, if there's any questions for us, and we're absolutely interested in what other campuses are doing to support their adult learners.
Thank you so much. I'll just make mention that that the mics are open. So if anyone wants to unmute, you can share your comments, your feedback, or your questions that way, or in the chat is also fine. I know just some of my observations from your presentation. I just really appreciate the attention to leveraging the experiences that these particular adult students bring to the courses. They, have had work history of various sorts. They've had, personal history experience, of course, but using that not only to just build community and connect the students, but to bring those experiences to the coursework as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we find that, we have that they bring such wealth and of experience and knowledge, that we want to acknowledge that for certain, and also leverage it, simultaneously too, to tap into that expertise. I'm just so amazed, at just how much experience, our students bring, to them, so they can bring that those real world examples into the course content, and really provide some rich dialogue. We constantly hear that among our students, actually, that it's kind of this really nice bonus that they weren't necessarily anticipating when they first signed up for the degree program, to be able to network and learn from their fellow classmates as much as, they find themselves doing. So we'd love to hear that.
Absolutely, it really illuminates what they're learning, or illuminates examples from the textbook that they can apply directly in their own lives. And the sharing is wonderful. I'm also a grad student, not in our school, but I've experienced that as well. And it's just like Brenda had mentioned, it's a really, I guess it was unexpected, but such a neat opportunity as a student to broaden your perspective and see other viewpoints.
Did you find, in dealing with the adult student population, that there were any particular barriers that you could just highlight for us? I mean, whether it was technology or life circumstances. You mentioned the different life circumstances that maybe brought them to the program, but I just wonder if there were any barriers, particularly for this population.
Yeah, a number of things, really. Getting back to that, life happens, and it can be any sort of situation that goes on in students' lives, especially, with the adult learners. They have both, having to contend with family obligations, both, maybe their own parents as simultaneously as their children, so in that sandwich population, various personal responsibilities that they contend with, which does impact, their ability. It takes time away from them being able to devote to their studies. And so that's where, being flexible comes in handy, and that's what we try, we strive for, to make it as easy as possible for them, so they don't feel like, oh goodness, I have to drop out of the program altogether. It's more like, okay, I just need to take this one semester off, and I'll get right back to it the following semester. I mean, certainly in the School of Public Health this past, I don't know, how long have we been dealing with the pandemic? A couple of years now. So many of our students were actually working in public health. So they were working 24/7, on pandemic related issues. And they were still trying to pursue their graduate coursework. And that took a toll, on the students. So that's been a unique challenge in the current climate as well. I don't know, Sara, you have some examples that you'd like to relay?
No, Brenda, I think you covered it very nicely. That I was going to mention that as we are the School of Public Health, our students were certainly very busy in the response. And so that definitely was something that Brenda and I worked with students and remained sensitive to and supportive.
Thank you. There is a question specifically about the journal assignment. Wondering if you can expand on that. Was it an online journal assignment and perhaps using Blackboard or your LMS?
Sure. So those are part of our future focus. And so while some instructors certainly do incorporate reflection activities, we just had some additional suggestions that could be, you certainly could use a journal within Blackboard for reflection, or you could just incorporate reflection activities throughout your coursework. I'm certainly happy to talk to you later about that if you'd like, for some different specific examples.
Thank you, Sara. Are there other questions?
Oh, someone just posted, I see in the chat box as well. Do adult learners need financial aid? If so, how could they be qualified for the financial aid if their course credit and schedule are very flexible? And do Albany consider to provide high flex learning mode to adult learners? Yeah, often I know our online students often do rely on financial aid. And so their requirements are that they need to be enrolled in a minimum, I think technically it's 5 credits, but our courses are all 3 credits. So it's really enrolling in 2 courses per semester, which does provide some challenges. My hope would be that federal financial aid would be available to students who are enrolling in just 3 credits for 1 course, because taking 2 courses while working full-time and balancing other obligations is challenging. But yes, many of our students do pursue financial aid, but they do have to enroll in at least the 2 courses per semester to qualify for that. We do have a unique program available to individuals who are working full-time, either in the New York State Department of Health or a local health department within New York State, in which we have a very special, unique funding mechanism called Public Health Leaders of Tomorrow, which does provide tuition support for individuals who are working full-time in the health departments across New York State. Many of our students do take advantage of that. And for that, there is no requirement. They don't have to be enrolled in 2 courses. They can just enroll in 1 course a semester and be eligible to receive that particular funding. But yeah, that very common question among our prospective students and current students is, what financial assistance is available? Because even though, these students may be working and getting a paycheck, that doesn't mean that they have extra funds, available to pay for tuition. So, everyone's, looking out for some financial support. And as far as the Albany considering providing high flex learning, during the pandemic, there were a variety of mechanisms that were attempted, high flex being one modality. And I can't speak to, elsewhere across the university, but just within the School of Public Health, what we have found so far, from what the demand is among our adult learners, working population, working students, in our online programs, all of our online programs are fully online, asynchronous. So, so that it has been what we've, been sticking with up to this point. But certainly we'll see what the future holds as, the student demographic continues to change, and the demand may warrant us shifting gears a little bit, as well. We also do find, I don't know if other campuses find this to be the case as well, but we get a lot of demand in our online courses from students enrolled in our on-campus programs as well. So that's been something that we've had to manage. That was kind of an unintended impact that when we first launched the fully online MPH program, and that was back in spring of 2012. So we've been offering the MPH since then online. We didn't necessarily anticipate that so many students who are actually enrolled in our on-campus programs would be seeking online courses, but every single semester we field a number of inquiries from those students as well. So I could actually see high flex options maybe being an attractive option for some of those students as well. So it will continue to evolve and adapt as necessary.
That seems to be the way we all have to go, right?
Absolutely.
Constantly re-envisioning how we're doing this.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I will put some resources in the chat for folks and pull us to a close. So I want to thank you both so much for the information that you shared on your program and your approach to this particular population. We really appreciate that. For folks on the call, the recordings and slides are available there on that URL where you registered. And we do have a survey to help us with the topics that you have partaken in this week and other thoughts that you have on helping us to improve our offerings for the future of National Distance Learning Week. So I just want to thank you all. And our next presentation is at noon. I am going to close the Zoom room and it will open back up about 10 minutes before. So thanks so much again.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.